Now, as everyone knows, on this July 4th, many gave their lives for the freedoms that we enjoy in this country today. Sacrifices honored this afternoon at the 34th annual July 4th ceremony at Fort Sam. Eyewitness News reporter Addie Guajardo has more now on how reenactors explain the role San Antonio played.
Gunpowder filled the air and patriotism stood tall at Fort Sam.
When we honor those who served before us, we can't forget those who sacrificed.
A history lesson that honored those who played a vital role in the American Revolution.
We will present a special homage to our 13 colonies.
A battle to gain independence with the help of New Spain, which controlled what is now Texas.
We were under a general named General Galvez, who was a Spanish-American hero of the American Revolution. Without his help, we wouldn't have defeated the British.
Spanish colonists from San Antonio provided cattle to feed the troops.
Texas, in its own unique way, helped support the Revolution of 1776.
We must remember that we are surrounded by veteran men and women who have sacrificed, who have dedicated their lives and their service to this country.
Freedom is not free. Somebody has to make a sacrifice.
They honored veterans who have fought with wreaths.
I served 22 years in the United States Air Force. I was blessed enough to be able to survive, you might say.
And those who continue to fight for freedom today.
Today is bright with the memory of those who declared that life and liberty are your gift to every human being.
A reminder that it's more than a holiday, it's a day to thank our servicemen.
God bless America.
Addie Guajardo, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.